Hello and welcome to Racice, Czech Republic for the Canoe Sprint World Cups 1 2009. This event is the first major competition to be held since the 2008 Beijing Olympic Games. All attention will now be turned to the next Olympic cycle. As a result of this, countries will be entering some new competitors in the build-up to London 2012. The World Cup Series will have 3 regattas. Each event at each regatta gives the competitors the opportunity to score points for the World Cup Series final rankings.
Parameters of this regatta course are like the Olympic venue. That means it is the 2,200 meters long, 10 lines for the canoeing and 8 lines for the rowing competitions. Also we must use the automatic start system, and we must fulfill all criteria which are asked from the ICF to the organization of the top level event here in Racice.
And welcome to the first afternoon's competition finals. The weather conditions on the Racice course, as you can see, are perfect for sprint racing. Very little wind, perfect conditions. And the competitors are now moving up to the start gates for the 1,000 metre men's final. And from the start sheet, you'll see in lane 4, this is the fastest qualifier from the semi-finals. That's Poulsen from Denmark. And the race is now underway. And in lane 6, we have Van Kolverden, bronze medalist from the Olympic Games. And Van Kolverden has taken a half a length's lead in the first 100 metres. Still holding that lead. And now we move into the last quarter of the race, and you can see that Van Kolverden from Canada still has a clear lead. And now we're moving into the last 200 metres of the race, and Adam Van Kolverden of Canada has a boat length lead over René Poulsen from Denmark. From the top of the tower we can see this lead is extending, if anything. Van Kolverden looks very, very confident, very, very strong here. Quick look around from Adam there as he crosses the line to take the win from Poulsen of Denmark, and coming up with a late burst in lane 2 was Gustafsson of Sweden. And the graphics show that Adam Van Kolverden from Canada won the race by 1.5 seconds. We now move back to the start, and the starter is calling the men's C1 1,000 metre competitors to the start line. From the semi-finals, the strongest positions, the fastest times are in the middle of the field, and we have a very good view there of lane 5 from Uzbekistan, Menkov. And we're now moving into the halfway stage of the race through the 500 metre mark, and in the lead by half a length we have Mathieu Goubel from France in lane 6, with Menkov in lane 5 in second place. 200 metres from the end, and the French paddler Goubel still has his nose in front from Menkov from Uzbekistan. And there's a strong finish from Poland. Last 100 metres with the red boys there. And French competitor Goubel in lane 6. Paddling very strongly here, leaning far down the boat to get his maximum effort for the final 110 metres. And he crosses the line in first place with Uzbekistan second and Poland in third. And the graphics show that Goubel from France won the race by 2 seconds. And now back at the start, the starter is calling the competitors for the women's K1 1,000 metres to the line, and they're off. So we have a very strong lead here in the first quarter of the race from Engel Hansen from Denmark. But as we move now to the final 200 metres, we see that Polish competitor Jakunek has now moved into the lead and is paddling very strongly to the finish. That's the last of the yellow boys before we move into the final set of red boys for the last 100 metres. Poland is still leading with a couple of boat lengths from Denmark. And as they cross the line, the Polish competitor Jakunek takes the win from Denmark, Engel Hansen with Hartley from South Africa taking the third position in lane 5. So our competitor from Poland wins the event by 2.5 seconds. Back to the start for the men's K2 1,000 metre race. The starter is calling the competitors into the start blocks and he gives the 10-second warning and they're away. We have the Australian boat in lane 5 showing in the first 100 metres. And now 2 minutes into the race, we have the Belgian crew of Oliver Cohenberg and Bob Massin coming into a very commanding lead here. And going through the 250, Belgium still comfortably in the lead. But showing on lane 9, we now have Belarus who are moving up. Last 100 metres as we come through the red boys. And Belarus have made a very, very strong challenge here. And have they done it? I don't think so. Belgium just hold on to take the win from the Belarusian boat in lane 9. And Romania finish in third place from lane 7. And we can see from the graphics how close this race was. Straight back to the start line with the men's C2 1,000 metre race. Most of the competitors are for Eastern Europe, with only the French boat in lane 2 representing Western Europe. But as we move into the final 100 metres, we can see a very, very strong challenge from lane 4 from Belarusia. And this is going to be extremely tight on the line, a lounge forward, and I think it just goes to Romania from Belarusia. And we can see here that the competitors are completely shot after their 1,000 metres of tremendous effort, and the result sheets show that the race was won by 0.07 of a second. And we'll quickly move back to the start line for the women's K2 1,000 metres, and they're already off. The Russians in lane 3 have had a tremendous start there, taking a half a boat length out in the first 100 metres. But now they're being chased down by Poland in lane 5 and Austria in lane 4. And it's the Russians in lane 3 who are currently holding the third position. And Poland look very strong here in lane 5. Last 30 seconds of the race, and the Poland head-on view there. Very, very strong boat, and they're leading over to the finishing line from the Austrians and the Russians. And as they come to the line, we can see that Poland has a clear boat length in front of the Austrians in 4, with Russia finishing hard in lane 3. These young ladies from Poland look very pleased with themselves, and they've just won this race by over 2 seconds. And back on the start line, we have the start of the men's K4 1,000 metres. And in lane 2, we have the reigning Olympic gold medalists from Beijing. And they're away. Tremendous amount of spray off the line, and in the first 10 seconds, the speed increases to the boat lifts out of the water to get its best planing position. And as expected, the Belarusians are showing strongly in lane 2, but it's the French in lane 4 and the Czechs in lane 6 who are now moving past them. And with 2 minutes to go, the Czech boat in lane 6 is receiving tremendous support from the locals, as one would expect. And we now move into the last 30 seconds of the race. Still the Czechs are being shown by the local television here. And as we come into the last 100 metres through the red buoys, the Belarusians are in shot, but it's the French in lane 4 who take it. And there's a very strong challenge on the far slide in lane 9 from the Poles. Did they beat the Czechs or not? And the French look extremely happy, finishing there 1.2 seconds in front of the Czechs, with the Poles in 3rd position. And now it's straight back to the start for the final of the men's C4 1000. There are only 7 competitors in this competition, all from Eastern Europe, except our friends travelled over from Japan. And you'll see here that the paddlers are paddling on 3 on one side of the boat and 2 and 4 on the other. And there's only 250 metres to go now, and we're moving into the final stages. And you can see in lane 6 the Belarusian boat, all white, with the 2 Bravanovic brothers in the front, who are leading out from Uzbekistan in 5 and Poland in 7. And it looks as though this is going to be the finishing order. Yes, the Belarusians in lane 6 come to the line now, and the Uzbekistans in lane 5 just take the 2nd place from the Poles in 7. So it's a comfortable win there for Belarusia.
In Olympic canoe sprint, paddlers, they are half standing in canoe. They have no steering. Only way to steer canoe is to make a little different path with blade. In kayak, paddlers are sitting. They are sitting in type kayaks, and first cockpit they have a steering machine, and rudder is moving, and they can keep their lane.
So welcome back to the 2nd day of finals here at the regatta course at Racice in the Czech Republic. First race on the programme this afternoon is the women's K4 500 metres. And the boats are now moving into the start shoes. And the starter has got these away first time. You notice that when the starter says within 10 seconds, the shoes drop because they're held up by air pressure, and Dreadly, he just pulls the button, the shoes drop away. And we're moving now into the first 20 seconds of the race, and we have in lane 5 Poland, who are showing ahead here. And it's the Russians in lane 4 who are in shot at the moment. The Russians have 2 boats in this. They're in lane 4 and in lane 7. With the Australians in between in lane 6. Very good forward shot there of the Polish boat. So the Poland in lane 5 still holding back and paddling very, very neatly. The Russians in 4 look a little more ragged, and they come to the finishing line, and it's a win for Poland from the Russian boat in lane 4 and the 2nd Russian boat in lane 7 taking the 3rd position. So Poland win that competition by a half a second from the 2 Russian boats. And the second race on the course this afternoon is the men's K1 500 metres. Unfortunately, the reigning Olympic champion Ken Wallace, who is here this weekend, hasn't been well and is not competing in this final. So they're off to a tremendous start here. The leading boat in the semi-finals, time-wise, was Paulson, who is paddling in lane 5 here. And the race is going through the 250 metre mark, halfway down the course. And this is a good forward shot here of the French competitor Sébastien Juvel. And the race is moving into its final stages. We're looking for the red boys, and there they are with 100 metres to go. And it's Juvel in lane 6, who is still in front. Still holding his lead there, and there's a strong challenge from the Scandinavian paddlers in lane 2, Sweden, and in lane 3, Denmark. And it's France who take the win from the Sweden in lane 2 and Denmark in lane 5. And we move straight away back to the start of the men's C1 500 metres. And in this race we have the gold medal winner in the 1,000 from yesterday, Gobel in France, with Mentov the silver yesterday in the 1,000 metres. And after the first 200 metres we have the Russian in lane 2 showing in the lead. And as we go through the halfway point, the race has moved to Uzbekistan in lane 6 and Belarus in lane 5, with Lithuania in lane 4 showing strongly. And we can see the difference in the stroke rates here, with the paddler from Uzbekistan in lane 6 having a much shorter, faster stroke rate. But it seems to be the right thing for him, because as we move into the last 100 metres, we can see that he's still holding the lead. And as we pan away now, is he still in the lead? It's very difficult to tell from the camera shots. But yes, he's holding the lead from Belarus in 5 and Lithuania in 4. So it's back to the start again, this time for the women's K1 500 metres. The premier event for the women's racing. And they're away. So as we move through the first 15 seconds, we can see the competitor from Japan in lane 3 having a metre lead here. You can see the way she's working the boat by pushing hard on the footrest. The boat's rocking from side to side a bit, which is not good. And now there's a challenge to Japan from our Danish competitor Henriette Engelhansen in lane 4. And we move through the 250 metre mark, and Denmark in lane 4 have now a half a metre lead. And as they come into the last 20 metres, the very, very tight race, the tightest of the weekend, and it's got to be a photo finish to decide that. And we can see that Japan won it by 0.04 of a second. now we move back to the start. This is for the men's K2 500 metres. And in the boat number 1 from Belarus, we have 2 of the reigning Olympic champions from the K4 at the Beijing Games. And they're away. No, they're not. The start gate has been pushed by the paddlers. Just to explain here that if the boat is forcing its way into the shoes, therefore the paddlers are getting an unfair advantage. This is recorded in the starters box and the race is recalled. So that was a false start and some paddlers had a warning there. And they're away this time. Czech television concentrating on their home paddlers in lane 5. A very strong boat in this race. But it's the Belarusians who have the nose in front from the Lithuanians in lane 9. And it's still Belarus in 1 from Lithuania in lane 9. And they move way through the halfway point, and it's still the Belarusians in lane 1, reigning Olympic champions in the K4 1000. And we come down to the red boys for the last 100. Tremendous support from the bank here. And it's the Belarusians in lane 1 who are just going to take this. The Belarus are in lane 1 take it from the middle of the field, with the Czechs getting the silver medal in the lane 5 and the Latvians in lane 6. And it's straight away back to the start for the men's C2 500 metres. This is a very strong contingent again from the East Europeans, with only France in lane 6 representing the West. You can see there's a bit more wind here at the moment, and the surface of the water is got a few waves on it now. So it's the Russians in lane 4 who are moving into a short lead here in the first 40 seconds of the race. The halfway point, 250 metres to go, going through the line there, and it's still Russia in lane 4 who have a clear lead, half a boat length. Good end-on view there of the competitors. You see that they're leaning right out of each side of the boat to get their maximum pull on the paddles. And it's very tight here, but it looks to be the Russians in lane 4 who take the win from France in lane 6, with the Belarusians in lane 2 coming through strongly at the end. Right, we now move back to the start again for the final event of the weekend, the women's K2 500 metres. With 2 strong Polish boats in the middle of the field, and they're away, and we can see the Polish paddler with the red and white boat there in lane 5, probably the strongest boat in the field. But at this stage it's lane 4, the other Polish boat leading from lane 6 from Austria, and it's the Austrians who take up a small lead now. Good shot of the Polish boat there. This is a very close race, and we can see that we still have 4 or 5 boats in contention at this point. And we move up through to the halfway mark, through the 250, and it's lane 3, the Slovakians, who've moved forward into the front. So Slovakia in lane 3 looking very strong, but now it's the Polish boat in lane 5 who've taken up the lead. Poland just take it from Slovakia, with the Austrians in 3rd place. So that's it from Racice in Czech Republic for the first event in the World Cup Series. We hope you enjoyed watching, and we hope to see you back for the second event in 2 weeks' time in Poznan, Poland. See you there.